Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Unofficial Commentators podcast. This week's focus, once again, is the League of Haters Fantasy Football League, where we do our Week 7 previews. As always, your host, JJ98, and all the way from Santo Domingo, the fucking stud with the beard, Paki.
All the way from the DR, my friends. Welcome to today's episode, as always. The Unofficial Commentators podcast, you already know where to find it. It's on Podomatic, and you already know we have a YouTube channel, obviously, Unofficial Commentators. We're going to leave the link to the podcast on the YouTube video and the link to the YouTube video on the podcast. So you'll be able to access both of them. Don't forget to always leave a comment and or email us any questions or suggestions you guys may have to unofficialcommentators@gmail.com. So, let's get started right away. Jay, what do you have for me?
Well, you tell me, man. Did you ever make it to Oktoberfest?
I did, man, and I had a great time. I tried a whole bunch of different beers. I don't remember the name of them because most of them were Germans, but there was this crazy stand where they had beer ice cream. That was pretty fun. That was actually pretty interesting. I wish a lot more people were able to try it. The guy that did it is like an engineer in chemistry and stuff. He came up with this beer ice cream. Pretty dope stuff, man.
Yeah, ice cream that gets you drunk. I love it.
I know, right?
I got to tell you, man, we're going to be doing a lot of reviews and previews about football. At least when it comes to reviews, man, I didn't see a lot of football this week. And the reason why, I was actually at a football game live, man. I went to see the Giants play against the Ravens.
All right.
What a game it was, man. A lot of milestones were covered there. Eli Manning not only tied John Elway all-time in touchdowns with his 300th touchdown, but then also surpassed him with his throwing his 301st touchdown. That was pretty amazing. The Giants won, bringing them to 3-3, which is another big accomplishment, man. It's good to be at 500 and not below 500. And Odell Beckham Jr., man, welcome back. 2 touchdowns in this game. 2 touchdowns. Well, you know what? I'm going to talk about his stat line a little later.
Yeah, don't talk to me about his stat line. Talk to me about the crowd when he did the game-winning touchdown, because that's something that it's memorable, man. That's going to stick forever if you saw that live.
Dude, I lost my voice. I was trying to record it, just for posterity.
Your
I was
precious
fumbling
voice?
my phone around. Dude, I screamed. I'm fumbling my phone around. I can't find the camera. It was like a kid at prom, man. It was amazing. It was definitely a fun thing to be a part of.
That's awesome, man. And I got to tell everybody, in a couple of weeks, well, not this Sunday, next Sunday, we're going to be in Tampa Bay watching Tampa Bay and Oakland Raiders. That's going to be my type of game because I'm a Raiders fan, as everybody already knows. So I know we're probably going to mention it again next week. I hope to have a whole bunch of stories for you guys when we come back from that trip. It's going to be awesome, man.
Yeah, go Buccaneers.
No doubt, man. Well, let's get this guy. Yeah, whatever, man. Go for the Bucs. I'm still a Raider fan. But let's get right to business, man. Tell me what we got for today.
All right, man. As usual, we're going to start off our actual content talking about the awards. This week's awards for top scorer in our fantasy football league goes to the Real City Butterflies. They scored 139 points, much to the dismay of myself, Pimpin' Ain't Breezy, who suffered the consequences. Go figure. I would play against the highest scoring team in any given week. They seem to get inspired when they play against the commissioner. The lowest score this week was a team, well, I didn't pick them to win, luckily. This is Yo Bebo Fortimal, just a poor 92 points. In the grand scheme of things, it wasn't the highest scoring week where 139 points is the highest score. It wasn't even the lowest scoring week. I've seen a lot lower than 92. Any given week that probably could have, won, but today was just not that week, my man. And the biggest blowout actually goes.
Let me say something. Sorry to interrupt you. It was a very bizarre week. This goes beyond the previews and the recaps because a bunch of guys that were not producing produced, and a bunch of no-names like Jay Ayahi, Golden Tate was lost, he came back, and a bunch of guys that are supposed to be producing didn't give diddly squat. Like Aaron Rodgers, he's lost in space. And a couple of other guys that right now are not giving the numbers. So that's probably why there's a little bit of inconsistency with those fantasy overall scores.
All right, well, At the end of the week, the Real City Butterflies beat Pimpin' and Breezy by a score of 33.2 points to come away with the biggest blowout. The narrowest win was actually So Loyal Action Boss, who was pretty dominant until this week. They only managed to defend their lead to the very last minute and won by 1.2 fantasy points. A favorable matchup, what you call the Lucky Award. I'm rebranding it the Everything Award because I believe that everything is luck. Anyway, So Loyal would have lost to 11 other teams. Think about this. If you take out his team, 11 other teams means that he could have only beat 2 teams this week. And he played against one of the ones he could have beat this week. So there you have it. That's your Lucky Award this week. The top fantasy performer, man, it was so live. To watch this live was OBJ. Odell Beckham Jr. against Baltimore had 8 catches, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 35 fantasy points. 35.2 if you're keeping the stats by the dot.
A little sour to put it all to luck, but, man, is it hard to argue. I got to talk about myself here. I'm 1-5. I'm the last place in the league. I don't even have the credentials right now to be recording this, all right? But I was the second highest scorer in the week, man, and I still lost. So that's not the second, the third. So that's pretty messed up, man. And I mean, what you gonna do?
How many times has this happened to me, man? This is not, like the.
But let's not get sour, man. The reality is it's not luck, although there is a little bit of luck involved in fantasy football. I believe there is a combination of knowledge, smart moves, and luck all put together, and that's what gives you the results. Because there's a reason why the same people are always bad and the same people are always good, man.
Yeah, where does that leave people like Antonio Brown?
Delicious. That beer looks great, man. That looks like an Oktoberfest type beer right there. Dark ale. I love it. My favorites. I tried a beer that was made out of coffee and another one that was made out of chocolate, and man, was that awesome. It tasted kind of like chocolate and kind of like coffee, but with a beer taste in it. I can't explain it. It sounds very simple, but it's a lot more cooler than what I'm actually saying.
Sounds like your love life. Anyway, dude, tell me how you did picking teams this week.
Oh my God, the picks! I did better than last week. Last week I only got 2 right, was it? This week I got 3 out of 7. So I believe that is an improvement. And I was very disappointed that I was not one of the correct ones that I picked since I picked myself. So yeah, man, 3 out of 7. Tell me how that puts up the score for overall.
Well, you have 5 last week. If you got 3 this week, then that's going to bring you up to 8. 6, 7, 8, yep. I had 6 last week. I only got 1 right selection this week, man. I'm all wrong. I don't even know what to do, man. Football is just football. Like, this is becoming depressing. Do you remember week 1, how excited we were to have football back? And now it's just like, yeah, man, football, man. Football. I mean, nothing is ever going to change the adrenaline of actually watching these games live. But following fantasy football, man, it's just football, man.
It's stressing. It's
football.
Stressing. Yeah.
Football. All right, so that means that right now I'm trailing you in our dinner pool. It looks like you have 8 wins to my 7.
All right.
All right, man. Let's not look back anymore after we look back, just enough to do these reviews. So let's take a look at the first matchup that we're going to talk about this week. It's Brady's Girly Men versus Hide the Blunt.
Brady's Girly Men, the team I've been talking up the last couple of weeks. Everybody's like, why you keep talking about this team? Well, another great performance compared to the overall week of everybody. 109.8 fantasy points, thanks to another excellent performance from Tom Brady, who pretty much lit up Cincinnati. That 2-minute drive that guy did was beautiful at the end of the second quarter. I loved it. He didn't get much production from Todd Gurley. Didn't get much from C.J. Anderson, who are we expecting to see a lot more. Didn't get much from Marvin Jones either. That has been great in fantasy. And definitely didn't get much from Delaney Walker, who was supposed to blow up against Cleveland. But Jamal Charles is back, gave him 11 points. Like I told you, Andy Reid is using a couple of backs for different situations, and I expect that to continue. So I don't want to be gloating or anything, but 11 points from your flex, just like I said. You see, these guys listening to me, gave him just enough to win. So even though he didn't have the best performance, he did have a good overall from Brady and from Jamal Charles, and enough to beat Hyde the Blunt.
Well, first of all, I don't know what the hell you're gloating about. I mean, 9 rushing attempts for 33 yards and a touchdown. I mean, you look up and down this roster, it's not like you had that many better options. I still don't understand why this team that's so complete is still carrying 3 tight ends. It just so happens that Hunter Henry, of all the tight ends, had the best game, and you didn't even start him. For all the talk, 109 points is pretty miserable. I mean, we're going to go and see a lot of matches where 109 points was matched. It just so happened that Hyde the Blunt didn't bring it this week, though. Outside of quarterback Andrew Luck, you got 14 points from LeGarrette Blount. Honestly, with the way that James White played, I didn't see that happening. Carlos Hyde left the game early. And this is just me catching up because, quite honestly, like I said, I wasn't watching these games. I saw the Houston game, I mean, as much as I could without falling asleep. That ended really late. DeAndre Hopkins gave you double-digit points, but he's still not looking like last year DeAndre Hopkins, who was quarterback-proof. And outside of those 3 scorers in double digits, everything was pretty much tame. No one else went over double digits. I wouldn't call these 3 games, by any stretch of the imagination, 3 blockbuster games, but they were solid. You would have hoped maybe if Carlos Hyde could have stuck it out, or Martellus Bennett brought it like he brought it last week, that you would have had a chance to compete in this one. And Jeremy Maclin, man, I still think that he is like the prototypical flex spot, but I don't even know what to tell you. There wasn't anything on the bench that would have put you over the edge in this game, and your bye week wasn't really anything to hurt you this week. So I have nothing else to say, man. You just didn't bring it this week. I mean, tried as you might, you weren't able to beat Brady's Girly Men. So let's just move on to the next matchup.
All right, man. I mean, Michael Crabtree and Jeremy Maclin both played in the rain. It was pouring in Oakland, so that's kind of hurtful for receivers in real football, therefore in fantasy.
All right, next matchup I'm going to talk about is A Tribe Called Wentz. Wentz went against the rainy Oriental Steelers. Man, I know that your bunghole puckered up when you were watching David Johnson just dominate. Tell me more.
I was watching David Johnson dominate, but I really wasn't getting my hopes up to win because I was down by way too much. I mean, David Johnson gave me 33.3 fantasy points, and I still lost by 8 points. So what really pissed me off about my matchup was Carson Wentz finally had a bad week as soon as I picked him up. Blake Bortles didn't do much on my bench either, so I'm definitely not getting any help from my quarterback position all year, thanks to my decision of dropping Russell Wilson at the beginning. It was an emotional decision. I thought he was out because of the knee injury. I'm paying the price. But David Johnson, Christine Michael, again, man, they're pulling the weight on my team, bro. 33 points from David Johnson. Christine Michael, 20.8 points. I love that running back duo. I'm not going to lose hope to make a push to at least reach a last seed in the fantasy playoffs. I can still do it. So as long as I have those 2 running backs healthy, knock on wood, because I lose a guy every week. I lost Dwayne Allen. He's probably not even going to play this week. I expect to keep my hopes up for future matchups.
Dwayne Allen having a good game as Doyle had, who nobody had in fantasy this week. That probably would have put you over the edge, man.
It would have.
8 points
It's not a
tough
probably.
loss.
It would have. I did the math.
Nonetheless, for as good a game as David Johnson had, he was matched, step by step by Lamar Miller. Prior to coming into this game, I would have said start Andy Dalton over Eli Manning. He decided to go with Eli Manning. It wasn't that much of a difference in terms of score, but what a game for Eli Manning, bro. 403 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, the 2 interceptions, but if you were watching the game like I was watching live, you saw that one of them was kind of like a Hail Mary throwing towards the sideline, just trying to get the catch, and then the out setting up what could have been a possible field goal opportunity. That got picked off. And then another interception was he was throwing to a receiver. Receiver looks like he kind of got tripped up. And then I forget the name, whatever. Who knows all the names of all the safeties and corners of the Baltimore Ravens. But spectacular catch, man. He jumped over this down receiver and just caught it, man. It was amazing. I felt like I was on the field when I saw that happen. Didn't matter. End of the day, 24 points for Eli. As I already mentioned, the 31 points for Lamar Miller. Golden Tate, this is the one that's got to hurt you, man, in your heart. Golden Tate, 26 points after he's been, just an average, a pedestrian player. I mean, you can even call him below pedestrian. It's 7 points, 2 points, 5, 2, 6, and boom, against Los Angeles, which is supposed to be a pretty good defense. 26.8 fantasy points. That's the one that's really got to hurt. There is a 0 here. You started Crockett Gilmore at tight end. What in the world possessed you to start Crockett Gilmore when Dennis Pitt is playing and he's playing well and he's not injured? I have no idea. 1 point for Josh Norman. I think it's time you start giving up on Josh Norman and stop trying to start him every week. 2 weeks in a row, he gives you only 1 point. It's clear that they're trying to avoid him by any means possible, and everybody's caught up to the fact that he's only playing one side. Other than that, a lot of low scores here. You got a good game from your kicker, who just kind of kicked all over Dallas, and kicked all over Green Bay, my bad. And that's all I got to say about that one. Awesome. Rainy Oriental Steelers beats Tribe Called Wentz.
Yeah, man, it's messed up that Crowder scored, Golden Tate scored, Lamar Miller went crazy. It's just a weird week overall, man.
All right, and the only game that I got right in the pick'em, that's what we talking about, beat Jobebo Fortimal. Oh, man.
Now
tell me about the team that I picked, and I got so much.
Now called Mojo Juju. Started Dak Prescott, which I traded over to him, which surprisingly so. If I would have stuck with Dak Prescott and started Dak Prescott over Carson Wentz, I would have won my matchup. But that's not the point. Dak Prescott is clearly going to be the starter for
Do you see what I'm saying here? It's all freaking luck.
No, that has nothing to do with
that.
That has nothing to do with luck. I made a decision, and it wasn't the correct one for this week.
You made a decision based on your skill of analyzing, and look what happens.
Yeah, but it's
just bad luck.
That's not bad luck, man. That's not bad luck. That was a trade that worked out for him. He won. It didn't work out for me. This week.
Bad luck. I don't know what that is. Go ahead.
But anyways, Prescott is clearly going to be the starter for the Cowboys. They already named him the starter for the game against Philadelphia. It's still not sure about the Browns, but I'm starting to hear a lot of rumors. But the point is, LaShawn McCoy went off on the 49ers, man. We've been saying that 49ers defense looks like just wet newspaper, without Navarro Bowman. It looks like wet newspaper, man. It just breaks so easily down the middle without Navarro Bowman. And, Julio Jones. I
don't think there's ever going to be a time where I hear wet newspaper and don't laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, and Julio Jones, I know you love it how I say Julio Jones. 23.4 points. Remember, it's amazing how I said this guy has a good week, a bad week, a good week, a bad week. So he's kept that trend. I assume he's going to have a bad week this week. We'll talk about that in the previews. But those two, man, carried pretty much the torch for this team, putting up 109 points, and another win for the Mojo Jujus, putting them at 5-1, which is an impressive record and a first place.
I'm going to have to teach you, man, how to, suspend expectation a little bit. I'm pretty sure that they make these changes to these names hoping that we introduce them that way in the week coming up for when we do previews. You kind of spoil the joke, man. I mean, whatever name they have now has nothing to do with last week's matchup. It's whatever it is looking forward.
I don't care. I don't even really get that name that much. Mojo Juju. Juju won that beat. Juju won that beat. That's all I could think of. I really don't see Juju on this team. Juju plays for USC.
Julio Jones, maybe? Julio?
It would say Jujo.
it would say whatever the hell he wants to say.
Jujo on that beat would actually be an awesome fantasy name. Now that you mention it.
Any damn way. He traded for Kobe Fleener, didn't start him. I mean, it's Kobe Fleener. End of the day, I've heard so many stories about how he did the ultimate vulturing of a touchdown where he caught a pass that wasn't intended for him and scored. I think anything is better than Zach Ertz. I have no belief at all for as much as they talk about Zach Ertz. He must be an awesome blocker because as a tight end, I just don't see the talent.
Especially with the way Carson Wentz played, man.
You know what? For as many points as Victor scored this week and as many points as he left on the bench, wow. Dude,
but talk to me about Joe. Talk about Joe Fortiman. Tell me about them, because we can't stick it to one guy. I'm looking at
this roster, and I know. I'm looking at the roster. I'm trying to see where he could have done any better. Well, first of all, you didn't expect 10 points from Aaron Rodgers, and is it time to start talking about this defense as being good, man? I mean, they're not really allowing that many points for as much as they talk, because Dak Prescott, they're allowing points?
They're playing very good, is what I'm saying. They're actually
okay. Well, that's what I'm saying.
They have overperformed by a bunch.
Could they just be good though? Like, why do they have to be overperforming?
Because they don't really have much talent in names, but they're definitely well coached. It's a great scheme, and I mean, with all the suspensions they had and all the injuries they've had, nobody expected the Cowboys defense to be this good. But not to take credit away from them, the Green Bay Packers offense has been pretty bad all year also. So it's kind of a little combination of both for this game.
So the bad man is leading the bad offense. Matt Forte, dude, how long ago does it feel from when Matt Forte went off on the Bills and he was the best running back in football?
Feels like 5 weeks ago.
Points. He looks so slow. I don't know Arizona for being like such an awesome, impressive defense, but he looks slow.
Yeah, Arizona has a very good defense, but he is slow because he's old.
And he looks kind of lost there too. Ryan Matthews, why would you ever trust him? I have no idea. A.J. Green underperformed. He did go against New England. New England's defense is pretty good, especially against the wide receiver. Michael Thomas taking that Willie Snead spot. He does. Willie Snead's been kind of quiet. I don't know if he's still nursing an injury, but slowly but surely, Michael Thomas is creeping up on him. He did start Julius Thomas after trading him. I felt bad that I let go of Julius Thomas, but when I see 3.8 fantasy points, I don't feel that bad.
I see him as a Peyton Manning product.
He's tall, man. He still has good hands.
All the tight ends are
in
tall.
Jacksonville just doesn't look good.
All the tight ends are tall.
But he still has good hands. He's still capable of catching jump balls. I don't know. It's a problem of how they're using him.
That's what you just said. It's a thing that comes back from all the way from last year. The scheme is more wide receiver based than tight end based in Jacksonville. They look a lot for their receivers.
Dude, but I was so looking forward to how they were going to play this year, and it's been a real disappointment. I mean, I haven't even heard the name Allen Hurns, and Allen Hurns last year he was tit for tat with Allen Robinson.
Well, he's not scoring as much. That's why he's still getting the looks and the yards and the catches. But last year he had a whole bunch of fantasy points because he was scoring like for 7 weeks in a row. So that's the only part that's missing, and nobody expected him to score that many points again.
You say that's the only part that's missing, like that's a little thing.
Well, he's getting the looks.
Well, you also traded for Chris Hogan. Chris Hogan, 4.4 fantasy points. After the game he had last week, you kind of expected more. But that game in New England was all about James White and Rob Gronkowski. It looks like I have all the losers on this side, man. Once again, on this side, I have Joe Fortiman losing to Dax. What we talking about?
That's right, and Joe Fortiman will still be the fantasy champion. I got you, bro.
The Real City Butterflies played against Pimpin' Breezy. Man, for as much as I love watching that game,
I feel so bad because I remember last week very clearly when we were going through the previews. I'm like, I got Real City Butterflies, And then by the end of both of our analysis, you convinced me that I should pick you. And I was like, yeah, forget it. I'm going with Pimpin' Ain't Breezy. I scratched it off, and I went with Pimpin' Ain't Breezy. Boy, was I wrong. But I can't regret it because there was no way in hell that I was going to predict Jay Ajayi to get 33.2 fantasy points on Pittsburgh. That was amazing. I mean, on anyone for that matter. I mean, Jay Ajayi he looked great last week. I would not expect that same production in the future, but that was pretty much the main difference maker in this matchup. And tight end C.J. Fedorowicz from Houston with 17 fantasy points. That was another impressive performance. I mean, I expect C.J. to get some looks. He's been getting some targets in Houston, but not this type of Greg Olsen type numbers. That, to me, was very impressive. I was expecting more within the 8 to 10 range from both him and Jay Ajayi. That would have made you the winner. But in this case, Brandon Cook smoked Carolina. Everybody was expecting that. Carolina's secondary is getting worse by the minute. Like, right now, they're worse than just right now. So, besides that, I mean, I also expected something more from Demaryius Thomas, honestly, against San Diego. A little bit underperforming, but, man, Jay Ajayi, Ezekiel Elliott has been a beast all year. There's no even point of mentioning him again. But top scorer right there, man, with, can't believe I'm saying the name again, Jay Ajayi. Or Jaji, whatever.
Well, the most impressive part of your analysis was the fact that you were able to pronounce Fedorowicz. I can't say that.
Fedorowicz.
Yeah,
Fedorowicz.
If that's how you're saying, man, I have to believe you because I can't say that.
I heard it on a podcast.
If I was hanging off a cliff, man, and saying this name would save my life, prepare my funeral.
I don't think you could do a pull-up anyways.
I cannot. I call him Jay Ajayi, by the way. I don't see an H anywhere.
I don't know how his name is pronounced. I don't know.
Yeah, his name should be pronounced Jay Pure Luck. Or stick it to Jay. What a son of a... Listen, man. At the end of Thursday Night Football, Ivan played 3 players. Phillip Rivers, Demaryius Thomas, and Joey Bosa. He had 15 points.
You had it in the bag.
15 points. And he had already used 3 players. Of 11 players, he already used 3. He had 8 players going, and I had all of my players. And people like Antonio Brown were set to kill. And you know what happens? Freaking Jay Ajayi. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Son of a monkeys. Listen, man, I feel so bad for Drew Brees. Like we could have done so much better by him. Double digits points from Giovanni Bernard. I did start both of the Cincinnati running backs. I'm not going to say that backfired because at the end of the day, they still gave me 16 fantasy points, which, split it, just cut it in half, eight each from my running back positions, which is normal, fair, par to the course.
Mm-hmm.
Antonio Brown had 1 catch for like 3 quarters, and then garbage time. They gave him, 3 measly catches for what? I don't even know. He doesn't get to double digits again. He has that same Julio Jones syndrome that you were talking about. 1 good game, 1 bad game. Just 5 touchdowns. I mean, it's far from impressive. Alshon Jeffrey, though, that's kind of a bright spot for my team. He had a whole bunch of catches, even if they didn't result in a touchdown. 7 catches, 93 yards. Happy to see that. CJ Uzomah. Now, when we talked about the matchup, when we did the previews, he was still thinking that Tyler Eifert would start. I thought it was Uzomah. They canceled, Tyler Eifert's comeback. So I'm thinking, yeah, Uzomah, here we go. Nothing. 1.1 fantasy points. Eddie Lacy flopped against the now vaunted Dallas defense. With all that said, I understand that Eddie Lacy is nursing an injury, and it looks like the injury was worse than they originally anticipated. But being that he was the only active running back, you would have thought, more work goes to him. Nope. Instead, Aaron Rodgers decides to fumble. Double-digit scores from Sean Lee. I was, driving to New Jersey to go see the Giants. If they did announce that Jamie Collins wasn't playing, I didn't even notice until like 138. At that point, what the hell am I going to do there? Dude, a lot of this can be skill, but I'm done trying to analyze. This is pure dumb luck. You know, I'm going to set my lineup this week. I'm just going to flip a coin. I have at least 2 players that can go in any position, right? Take 2 names, flip a coin, whatever it says, that's what I'm going with. I'm done with all this analysis. I'm done.
Whatever
football,
works
man.
for you. Whatever works for you, man. It sounds
Football.
But don't get frustrated, man. It's part of life, man. But I'm just gonna move on.
I'm not frustrated. I'm defeated. The only reason I'm not the last place in this league is because you're playing in it.
I'll make you feel better. Let's talk about another depressing owner, in Gary FIBA. Mr. Gary, although he is at 4-2 right now, he did lose. What the
hell's he got to be depressed about?
I don't know, because he's Gary. So he got Cam Newton starting with 27 points, which is good.
Good point.
Very bold move to start C.J. Spiller. I do not see C.J. Spiller getting that big of a production in Seattle's offense. He will get a couple of touches. I just don't see him getting a lot of opportunities. Brandon Marshall was well defended all across the field, only gave him 8.5 points. And Larry Fitz, well, we expected more from him. Arizona looked very well, but David Johnson stole the show for everybody and took the goal line touches for the touchdown. So Larry Fitz value got a little bit of hurt there. So Greg Olsen, man, 12 points, which is not bad. I wanted more from him versus New Orleans. He is now currently the second top receiving receiver in receiving yards in the NFL, which is impressive from a tight end. So this is a very, very good team. Just had a very unfortunate week, to not use your word luck, because of bad production from stars like Brandon Marshall and Larry Fitz. So I expect them to have better weeks. Unfortunately, this was not one of them.
And I don't want to dwell too much on going back and going over matches you already talked about, but Larry Fitzgerald is a beast.
Yeah.
Carson Palmer just sucks this year. He's not all he's cracked up to be. And again, you know, why the hell are you carrying 3 tight ends, man? Spread the love. I'm starting freaking CJ Uzama. Guy, drop one of these damn tight ends. All right, on this side, I got a winner this week. Okay, so Dangerous Minds, a play on words meant to troll my fellow commissioner Paki, who dropped Russell Wilson. I picked him up, and now he made his way all the way to Adeli's team. Double-digit points from Russell Wilson. Not that it really mattered. The story here is Odell Beckham Jr., the highest performer this week in fantasy, followed by Spencer Ware. I don't see where all this splitting backs and all this other crap came from. It was like 9 carries for Jamal Charles. I guess they're easing him in. 24 carries for Spencer Ware, 131 yards and 1 touchdown to the tune of 23.3 points. Randall Cobb caught a touchdown in a game that, you know, really didn't matter much. 53 yards. They're not looking good, but whatever, as long as you can benefit from playing Randall Cobb. 1 with a 0 this week. I have no idea why the hell you decided to start Sammy Coates. Man, the Miami Dolphins really put a hamper on everybody's matchups this week.
Well, I heard it was like 90 degrees in Miami, so Pittsburgh defense was throwing up by the first quarter. They weren't comfortable there, but we did mention last week it was bold.
I saw something there. The Pukesburg Steelers, they were all like throwing up.
Yeah, man, they couldn't handle the heat. And Sammy Coates gave a good production last week. We mentioned how bold it was to start him. Well, there you go. You were bold again, and that's why you don't start Sammy Coates.
The bold and the beautiful.
And
it didn't matter this week. You still got the win.
Yeah.
And that's what'll happen when you have 4 players and 5 players in double digits, and one kind of scratching that surface. All right. Do you have anything else to say about this matchup?
Let's move it along, bro. We got time. The clock's ticking.
All right. The clock is ticking, Cinderella. All right. The EMCC Brawlers played against Amari 2600 this week. Man, I really thought this was the week that EMCC Brawlers was going to bring it and take down this scratching and clawing team of Amari 2600, who I've labeled the LA Rams. I just had an awesome idea, by the way, of what we should do next week. But go ahead, Becky.
All right, man.
Tell me what happened to the
did have
Brawlers.
Amari 2600 on this matchup. I was not expecting.
What the freaking do?
Yeah, but on the EMCC Brawler side, though, I was surprised to see Big Ben go so low. Obviously, he got hurt. We can never predict an injury. That's something that nobody can predict. DeMarco Murray versus Cleveland, only 12 points left, a lot to desire. But Matt Jones picked up that weight with 19 points against Philly. So they kind of flipped the score there on those two running backs. Terrence Williams and Devontae Adams, nothing was expected from them. Nothing was given. Terrence Williams gave a little 9 points, but it's not that much. Now, Rob Gronk, this guy's amazing, man. 25 points, and I expect that to keep on coming the entire season. Rob Gronk looks like he's never been hurt in his life. I love the double tight end duo this guy has here with Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronk. That's pretty good. Jimmy gave 11.9 points. But although this was a good week for EMCC Brawler standards, because I don't think he's ever made 116 points throughout the entire fantasy season, it simply was not enough.
It hurt me in my soul every time you called him Rob Gronk. Who the hell says that?
Gronk, man.
He's just Gronk. He has one name. He's like Cher, Madonna, Paki. Anyway,
I can call him whatever I want.
You can, but Rob Gronk? Nobody knows who you're talking about.
Fine, I'll just say Gronk. Oh, God.
So you should have said it from the beginning. All right, so Carson Palmer, we all know he sucks this year. That offense that was so dynamic and lighting up every scoreboard last year is not doing the same this week. They did take advantage of the fact that they played against the Jets, but it looks like they did it with the running game and not the passing game, even though the Jets have one of the poorer secondaries in the league. Welcome back, Jonathan Stewart, 20 points. Some of the stats for this gentleman right here. All right, the internet is failing me. Oh, here it is. 19 carries, 85 yards, and two touchdowns. Okay, Amari Cooper picking up the slack that Mr. Michael Crabtree left in his wake. You didn't get any production from Allen Robinson, man. I don't know what to think about him. The whole offense just seems poor. Gary Barnidge, average game. Gary Barnidge, I don't know. Who's it going to take to bring back the value of Gary Barnidge? I don't know if he's a starting tight end, but given the fact that there's so many really bad tight ends and so many teams in this league with 3 tight ends, I mean, Gary Barnidge is probably the best thing you could have started there.
Yeah, and Gary Barnidge is more like a matchup tight end, and Tennessee has a pretty good defense.
Mainly against the run. They're just kind of okay against the tight ends. Terrell Pryor, love this dude. You know, week 2, he was floating around in the free agent pool, man. It looks like Amari 2600 decided to take a chance on Terrell Pryor, and boy, is it paying off. 24.3 fantasy points. Finally, Amari 2600 breaks the 100-point mark. So many games he's been just barely scratching 100 or, 90 or lower. 120 points. It just seems like Amari 2600 does what he needs to do to win every week. Now 5-1, first in the no ordinary division. Dude, he just finds a way to win. He's Tebow. He's the St. Louis Rams. Oh, sorry, the LA Rams.
I want you to change it to the Jacksonville Jaguars, because how did the Jaguars win that game versus Chicago, playing as horrible as they did? But let me give you another info on how bad I've been.
Chicago.
Let me tell you how bad I've been in fantasy, because it's not just luck. Terrell Pryor was on my team when the season started, and I dropped him.
I don't know, this new attitude of yours of dropping people after one bad week. I mean, dude.
To be honest, my analysis was just Terrell Pryor. I was like, Corey Coleman was looking good. Josh Gordon was going to come back soon. He didn't do much the first 2 weeks. I'm like, this guy's a quarterback trying to play receiver, a bad quarterback trying to play receiver. I wasn't convinced, and obviously I was wrong. There you go.
Well, it won't be the last time I hear you say that. All right, last matchup in the reviews is going to be So Loyal Action Boss winning against the Fresh Prince of Bel with 2 L's, Bel Air. In this one, So Loyal Action Boss actually scored the narrowest win, winning by just 1.2 fantasy points. Tell me, what was there to look forward to on the side of the So Loyal Action Boss?
I know Cousin Juan hates it that we don't last long talking about his team. He is at 5-1. He's won 3 in a row, but there's just not much to talk about his team this week. He only had one player in double digits, and it was Terrence West with 26.3 points. He pretty much, well, and the kicker, Mason Crosby. But I really don't like talking about kickers because that is the most inconsistent scoring or predicting you can possibly do. But Terrence West went off on the Giants. Awesome performance. He pretty much did enough for two of his players. He scored 2 touchdowns. Besides that, man, Derek Carr was a huge disappointment. It was a matter of time before Derek Carr had a bad game because Derek Carr is a quarterback that's moving up in the ranks, but he's still not at the elite status as the Drew Breeses or Big Ben's, Tom Brady's. And it was a pouring rain in Oakland. I would always be aware of rain when it comes to starting a fantasy player because it affects the quarterback and the receivers as much as we know it's the NFL. We know they have all the conditions, but rain makes it uncomfortable. It becomes a running game. So that definitely affected Derek Carr. And Derek Carr has been one of his best best players producing. But at the end of the day, man, a win is a win, even if it's with 95.5 points.
A win that, by the way, he was just barely defending. I'm going to look at this again. I don't believe that he had any players going on Monday night. On the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air side, there were some players that were playing on Monday night. In particular, I believe it was Marcus Golden, who only managed 2 tackles. And that's, one more tackle, well, maybe 2 more tackles would have put him over the edge. It's rare to see that a linebacker only gets 2 tackles. But, the defense wasn't really on the field as much. They just kind of got in, the other team coughed up the ball, 3 and outs, and that was it. There wasn't like a whole lot to tackle. Kelvin Benjamin, we're glad to see him back. He got he didn't get a touchdown, sorry. He got a few catches and some yards, no touchdowns. The curse of Paki, man. After you said he was going to get a touchdown every game, here he goes. The last 2 games, no touchdowns. But at least he got back into double digits. Brian Hoyer looking like a respectable quarterback. I thought he was a joke, but, even though he kind of dipped this week, last couple of weeks, 17, 19, 23, and now this 11,
4 straight
hasn't
weeks.
gone under 4 straight weeks in double digits. While,
in 4 straight weeks throwing for 300 yards. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no. By all means, if that's what you're going to contribute, go ahead and interrupt. T.J. Yeldon, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know. He's not looking great. Chris Ivory was out for a while. T.J. Yeldon was pulling, the bulk of all the carries, and he didn't really make anything happen with him. After coming back from the London game, he's rested and all this other stuff. He only got 6 carries, 21 yards. It was not a good game for T.J. Yeldon. Jordy Nelson, I don't know. I mean, we all know that receivers kind of depends on their quarterbacks, and the quarterback was not playing great. Zach Miller took kind of a dip, but, what can we really say about Zach Miller? He was playing well above his coverage, honestly. The last couple of weeks, 23 points against Dallas, 10 against Detroit, 10 against Indianapolis. You would have hoped to probably get 10, but it just didn't happen this week. I don't think that there's anyone else you would have started in his place. You did leave all the Cole Beasley points on the bench, by the way. Cole Beasley is a fantasy producer, especially in the PPR league. 6 catches, 58 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Cole Beasley guy. Find a way to put him out there.
Yeah, man, he was running some pretty clean routes during that game. I love the route that he did at the end zone, man. That was nice. They know how to get him the ball. But overall, man, you mentioned Jordy Nelson. He's a victim of Aaron Rodgers' play. It looks like Aaron Rodgers got bit by the Space Jam monsters, man. It's amazing.
Cousin Juan, let's just say a few more things about you. You won. Just using up a few more seconds, let's talk about Cousin Juan. You didn't get a touchdown from Melvin Gordon this week. That sucks. He was doing great. Cousin Juan, this and that, yada yada. Victor Cruz, don't put him in your starting lineup. Luckily, you get Mike Evans back. And all right, with that being said, let's go right into the Week 7 previews.
No doubt, my friend. Let's go straight to the first one the reviews for Week 7. We got the 2-4 Wingardium Leviosa, which used to be Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. In case you guys didn't know, this is a Harry Potter reference.
What the hell did you say there?
Wingardium
Leviosa. What is that?
Leviosa. It's supposed to be Leviosa, but he just added the end to it. So it's a good wordplay on Harry Potter. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, but I understood it right away, so it's fine.
Dude, that sounds like an STD. Like, oh my God, you got Wingardium Leviosa? Jeez, put some penicillin on that.
Sounds like a parasite, you know? But
oh my God.
Going with Brian.
Is there blood in your stool when you have Wingardium Leviosa?
Oh my God. Well, he's lost 2 in a row.
What the hell is this?
I'm on here trying to be professional, talk football. You're talking to me about blood in your stool. Oh man, that's
a
hilarious.
very professional question. Doctors ask this all the time.
Oh
what
my God.
What can we expect from La Vaina Venenosa?
All right, man. Brian Hoyer is going up against Green Bay tomorrow on Thursday Night Football. I expect Brian Hoyer. I mean,
what's the name of my beer? Wingardium Leviosa.
That would make a good name for a beer.
Salud.
All the things tell me Brian Hoyer should have a good week because the Green Bay Packers got their top 3 corners out. They're hurt in the secondary. They're hurt in the running game, so they're probably going to be throwing a lot. That's going to give a lot of possessions to Brian Hoyer. But I don't know. It's just Brian Hoyer. 4 straight weeks throwing for 300 points. It's like the law of average tells me that Brian Hoyer is due to go dip real low with a real bad game.
I think he did last week.
Well, fantasy-wise, but he still threw 300 yards. I'm expecting
him to be great, man. I mean, it's a short week, and he's playing on the road in a divisional game. But
yeah,
I just said a moment ago that he's a respectable quarterback.
Yeah, but all right. But on top of that, you got Le'Veon Bell versus New England. You got T.J. Yeldon, who has been kind of dipping a little bit in his production against Oakland. That's supposed to be a good matchup, man. Oakland's defense is right there with New Orleans at how bad it is. I'd say the Raiders' defense, statistically and in real life, is starting to look worse than New Orleans, which is a damn shame because they have the names. New Orleans doesn't even have that. But I got Wingardium Leviosa winning this, man. I mean, Jordy Nelson versus Chicago. I'm hoping Jordy Nelson comes back. Cameron Meredith has looked like the real deal. They're looking for him. And I know a lot of people say Stephon Diggs, beware of Stephon Diggs versus Philly. But after resting, I don't know. I kind of like that matchup. It's just a hunch thing. So I'm going to go with Wingardium Leviosa. Can you help me out? How do you say it, Jay?
La Vaina Venenosa.
Uh-huh. There you go. My pick.
Good for you, man. I told myself I wasn't going to cry. Anyway, both teams have dropped 2 in a row. EMCC Brawlers is getting back Sam Bradford. He's starting DeMarco Murray, starting Matt Jones. All of these 3 players should give him a good 40 points, I would say. I'm not feeling these receivers at all. Deshaun Jackson is not a reliable source of production in a PPR. Devontae Adams does not look great. He is going against a weak defense in Chicago. Rob Gronkowski against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh without Big Ben, probably going to run a lot. And I see New England putting up a lot of offense. Jimmy Graham against Arizona. Let's see if Russell Wilson works his Russell magic again. And in terms of defense, it's kind of a push. This week I'm going to go with EMCC Brawlers. I said that thing of, I told myself I wasn't going to cry. It's because before going into this, I was like, man, I'm never picking EMCC Brawlers again. But this week, he's EMCC Brawlers with a Z.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
Changed his name with a Z.
Name change alert.
All right, so I'm going EMCC Brawlers with a Z for the win.
I'm not going to pick a 1-5 team. I'm not.
Oh, so you pick a 2-4 team. What the hell did you do different there?
It's a one game difference.
Stretch. Speaking of 1-5 teams that you're not going to pick, the next matchup we're going to cover is Dangerous Mind versus Pimpin' Ain't Breezy.
Yep.
These two teams made a blockbuster trade last week. What can I expect? What's going to kick my ass this week? Because it's all luck, man. I'm done.
Well,
how am I going to mess this up this week?
I mean, honestly, I was thinking about picking you, but since I know you're going to pick up your line, you're going to build your lineup based on rock, paper, scissors. I'm going to go with Dangerous Minds on this one. Give me a second, because I'm changing this pick. And you're 1-5, so I'm not going to pick you. Russell Wilson versus Arizona. That's going to be interesting. I mean, it's a divisional matchup. These division rivals play Russell Wilson hard. He doesn't always produce that well, although they do get some wins. Jerick McKinnon at Philadelphia after a bye week. I expect Jerick McKinnon to come back and produce something. Philadelphia just didn't look as strong as we've accustomed to seeing them this season versus Washington. So I'm sure Minnesota picked up a couple of tricks. Spencer Ware versus New Orleans. That's an awesome matchup. I'm expecting him to at least score. And Odell Beckham, well, after what we saw from Odell Beckham versus the Ravens, I wouldn't expect any less against the Rams. Obviously, he's probably not going to put up 200 yards, but you know what I mean. He's probably going to put 100 and a touchdown. I would see that totally probable the way that they're looking for him. They're looking for him so much. Victor Cruz and Sterling Sharp have become pretty much irrelevant in that offense.
Sterling Shepard.
Sterling Shepard. What did I say?
Sterling Sharp. He retired a long time ago.
Sterling Shepard. It's similar names.
Tomato.
Yeah, but it's not tomato. But and on top of that, we got Cameron Brate versus San Francisco, the wet newspaper defense. So Cameron Brate's probably gonna get a couple of touches. So man, I like Dangerous Minds this week, man, for the win.
You know what? I'm gonna start over my pick. I'm picking Dangerous Minds. And you know what? I want to win this dinner, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bench all my players.
You're going to Pete Rose it, huh? You're going to Pete Rose it, huh?
Son of a monkey's ass. Okay, so what can I expect this week? All right, so we got Drew Brees playing on the road. That's never good. The Kansas City Chiefs is a 6th defense against quarterbacks. That's not good either. Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard are both playing against Cleveland. Cleveland rocks, but in football, Cleveland sucks. And it's a in-state rivalry, Cincinnati versus Cleveland, both in Ohio, for those people keeping score at home. Antonio Brown is going to get against New England. New England is a very good, proficient defense, and they will not have to face the likes of Ben Roethlisberger. That would have already hurt Antonio Brown. Playing against a good defense doesn't help the cause. Alshon Jeffrey, after whining and complaining, he could whine and complain some more. I expect more balls to be thrown his way, but whatever he gives me is not going to be enough to pull out a win this week. Jack Doyle, expect his production to spike since, what's that old man's name? Indianapolis is out. The dude you just lost. The name of the guy you injured, Paki, what's his name?
Dwayne Allen?
Dwayne Allen.
But he's not old.
Yeah, Dwayne Allen is gone, so expect Jack Doyle to get all that production. However much that production is, they are playing on the road. Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson scored a touchdown last week, and it brought his production to double digits last week. Can he do it again this week? God only knows. Neither one of these teams are harmed incredibly by bye weeks. I am without one of my defensive players in Sean Lee. Injuries, though, have depleted my team. I will not have Eddie Lacy. James Starks is going to be out for some time. Before you ask, I only have James Starks on the team still because I put in a waiver and I didn't get who I was targeting, which was replacement Niall Davis. That player actually went to Action Boss. We didn't mention who was on bye last week. Honestly, only Wayne Jervius, whatever the hell, is hurt by a bye week. He won't have Kelvin Benjamin this week. Like I said, I'm not overly optimistic on my team. For the first time this year, I'm picking against myself. Yeah, man, Dangerous Minds wins this by a mile.
You got to do it because I'm going to do the same thing when it comes to my matchup. Oh,
Brady's Gurley men of 4-2 record versus FIBA, also a 4-2 record, while Brady's Gurley men has won 2 in a row. FU Ben Affleck has dropped 1 after winning, I believe, 3 in a row. Anyway, much in Gary fashion, Gary is keeping his lineup secret. What the heck am I supposed to say here? Okay. Well, Brandon Marshall's going to start. He's playing against Baltimore. He's playing at home. Baltimore did not look great in their offense. I saw that live. I'm going to keep putting that in there every time I can.
All right.
Their defense looked pretty okay. I mean, they did get burned. Some of those corners, I think the starting corner was out, and Beckham kind of burned a lot of their secondary. So expect big things from Brandon Marshall, who isn't as fast as he used to be, but really secure hands, and he has incredible catch range. No Eric Decker for a long time. I believe you dropped him already, so that's not even an issue. So expect more production to come his way. Will Theo Riddick make his way back on the field? He's listed as questionable. I don't believe that he's going to make it onto the field, at least not this week. He was a non-participant in practice on Wednesday. Greg Olsen is on a bye. Cam Newton is on a bye. So that means that you're starting Alex Smith. But of all the weeks that you want to start Alex Smith, it's the week that he plays against New Orleans. Mm-hmm. So there you have it. With Greg Olsen out, you'll probably be starting Vernon Davis. Or maybe Jason. Oh, no, Jason Wynn is out too. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have 3 tight ends and 2 of them are on bye. So you only have one choice here so far, and it's Vernon Davis going against Detroit. Detroit's defense against the pass is nothing to write home about, given that Washington does not have Jordan Reed. Probably won't have him for a few more weeks. Then you can pretty much start Vernon Davis and feel kind of confident about it. Super Bowl winning Vernon Davis. Matchups to look out for. Larry Fitzgerald is going up against Seattle. He is playing at home as Seattle's coming to visit. They don't have that 12-man advantage, but he's still going up against the Legion of Boom, which is no joke. The Legion of Boom, by the way, who's determined to challenge the refs to see if they call a pass interference on every single play. They're just going to rough up receivers. They don't care. Jordan Matthews, he sucks, and his matchup is not favorable. He's questionable of health. He's not a really good receiver. I'm starting to lose faith on Carson Wentz. I was never really sold. I was high on him a little bit, but he's coming back to earth for me, and he's going up against Minnesota. I think that as the non-favorable matchups kind of start arriving, he's not going to look as great as he used to, and it's going to be hard for him to get the ball to Jordan Matthews. That's really all I want to talk about. You can always depend on Adam Vinatieri to get your points. He'll probably score in double digits again. 72-year-old Adam Vinatieri still kicking 50-yard field goals. Tell me about Brady's Gurley men.
All right, man. Extensive review there on FIBA. But, yeah, you chug that beer, man. You deserve it. Brady's Gurley man. Obviously, I got them winning this matchup because they're one of my favorite teams in our league this year. I expect Delaney Walker to kick it back up a notch against Indianapolis, who has been very, very bad on defense. And I also, by the way, I would really consider starting Hunter Henry somewhere around here, maybe on a flex option, because Hunter Henry has really proved to be a very reliable piece for Phillip Rivers, and they're looking for him way more than Antonio Gates. I know you got Jamal Charles there versus New Orleans, but I don't know. I just got this good feeling about Hunter Henry. Tom Brady's obviously going to be lighting it up against Pittsburgh. And Todd Gurley versus the Giants will be interesting because that will be in London, I believe it's going to be, in Europe, somewhere in Europe. It's a 9:30 a.m. game. Last time we saw it, they lit it up. The game hit over. It was Jacksonville versus who was it? I don't remember. I know it was Jacksonville because they won. But
Indy.
Versus Indy. So it's very interesting to see what's going to happen with Gurley. And C.J. Anderson's playing Monday night. And you got a kicker and a defense on Monday night. What I like about that is there's no statistical analysis to it. But for some reason, when a team has a player on Monday night, it normally bodes well for them if they're close after Sunday night. So seeing all the bye weeks that FIBA has, I expect you to put up some pretty good numbers this week and win this matchup.
Well, thanks for that. Todd Gurley should run all over the New York Giants. I saw them play live.
Really? When?
Keep saying that.
When?
Oh, this last Sunday. I saw them
did?
get their third win of the season. Yes.
Who did they play?
300 and they played the Ravens.
Oh.
And you know what? Terrence West scored 2 touchdowns on the Giants because they have this really funny way of tackling, right? Like normally when I see football players, they kind of like they shoot for your waist or, you know, somewhere around that area, and they kind of wrap you around with 2 arms. And if they can grab you like somewhere around the legs or the knees and you fall, then fantastic, right? You got tackled.
It's a tackle.
The Giants, they only have these 2 tackling techniques, and I don't know who's showing them this, but they either bump you to push you out of bounds, or they do this really funny one that I kept seeing where they run up in front of you and then they put their hands down on the floor so that you kind of run into them and you fall. I kept seeing this and I'm going, what the hell is happening? Like, what happened to tackling? Like, hit this dude. They're just like putting up roadblocks and hoping that people don't know what to do with it.
It's the new play safe promotion in the NFL.
It's the stupidest thing in the world. What the hell is happening there? Anyway, Todd Gurley's probably going to kill the Giants, but oh man, it feels like there's a whole bunch of backups that are playing over in the FU Ben Affleck side. As much as I would like to, you know, go with FIBA and just generally go against anything Brady's Gurley, man, I'm down in the score, so I want to catch up. I'm picking Brady's Gurley, man. All right, Hide the Blunt. Hide the Blunt, which is currently at 3-3, versus Real City Butterflies, also at 3-3. It wasn't long ago that this team beat me. I hate them to death. Jay Ajayi has a little voodoo doll in my house that I keep poking. Anyway, tell me about Hide the Blunt.
All right,
Your
man.
arch nemesis, Hide the Blunt.
Hide the Blunt at 3-3 for the tiebreaker matchup here with Real City Butterflies. Matt Ryan, surprisingly so, is the NFL leader in passing yards, and I expect him to keep up that rhythm versus San Diego. That's an excellent matchup at home, in the Dome. Matt Ryan is supposed to be lighting it up this week. And on top of that, you got Jeremy Maclin facing New Orleans. That's a gimme. And you got LeGarrette Blount versus Pittsburgh. We already saw what Jay Ajayi did to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I expect Bill Belichick to bring a little bit of that into their offense with LeGarrette Blount. And I really like Michael Crabtree also versus Jacksonville. Michael Crabtree had a down game. Again, it was in the rain. Their car wasn't very sharp. The Raiders' offense in general wasn't very sharp. I expect them to get that fixed, and it's not just because I'm a Raider fan. And Jacksonville sucks. So Michael Crabtree should be back to his scoring ways. I really like all these matchups up and down the board. DeAndre Hopkins is the only one that I'm not 100% sold on because they are playing Denver, and Brock Osweiler has been pretty trashy, to not call it any other way. But I would really take into consideration benching DeAndre Hopkins this week and starting somebody like Travis Benjamin versus Atlanta, because I expect that game to be a shootout. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I know he wasn't the best last week, but it was against Denver. So I try to avoid any matchups against Denver or Minnesota in general. Try to see if you can go with Travis Benjamin, see if that works for you. But I think Hide the Blunt should still win anyways, with or without DeAndre Hopkins on the starting lineup.
He's pretty much been without DeAndre Hopkins all year anyway, because whatever, man. Okay, Real City Butterflies. So Phillip Rivers goes against Atlanta. Okay, well, that's a plus. Atlanta's defense is 31st in the league out of 32 teams against the quarterback, and Phillip Rivers gets his points no matter what. Jay Ajayi, there is no way that he's going to score 33 fantasy points again. I expect him to go back to his 40 yards a game, and there's rumblings that Arian Foster may play. Who knows? There's currently not another starting running back. No Ezekiel Elliott this week. Doug Martin's going to be off for a while, so he suffered a setback in his recovery.
He's going to have to work the free agency or waiver wire, whatever's left.
He's going to have to. Anyway, Demaryius Thomas did not look great, but he is playing Monday night. Hopefully you have a plan of something. You have some kind of advantage. Anyway, this is the player to watch coming into the Monday Night Football. Doug Baldwin, man, is he going to light it up again? I mean, it's about time he gets back to his Doug Baldwin ways. As Jimmy Graham has kind of been getting better, Doug Baldwin's production has kind of been dipping, even without Lockett playing there. Kyle Rudolph. Yeah, typical Kyle Rudolph. Players to watch here are Phillip Rivers, Brandon Cooks. What you're going to do with the running back position and Demaryius Thomas, who plays on Monday Night Football. Everything else is just par, just average. Justin Tucker's a really good kicker, by the way. I saw him live. Anyway, I'm picking High the Blunt this week.
You saw Justin Tucker live. Nice. That must have been a great experience. So
I got videos of him kicking field goals.
You went with who? I'm sorry?
High the Blunt.
Okay, yeah. It's pretty easy. I mean, Real City Butterflies. Yeah, Real City Butterflies is out his best player on bye, so it's pretty easy. Moving on to my own matchup, A Tribe Called Wentz at 1-5. Wow, has it been a very bad fantasy season for me. I've lost a player every week to injury. So I'm just hoping it's not David Johnson or Christian Michael this week. I'm really hoping it's not. Just to get it off, I already said it earlier, I'm not going to go with any 1-5 team. So I'm going against myself, mostly because I'm in a little bit of a conundrum at the running back position. I got David Johnson, Christian Michael. They're facing each other. They're both very good defenses. Obviously, they're must starts. I'm not going to bench any of them, but I don't expect any of them to give me 30. Between both of them last week, they gave me 54 points. I don't expect that this week. Both of them combined to give me that many points. And I'm starting both of the Miami wide receivers because I don't really have much else to do. But I actually like that. Miami's playing from behind almost every game. They got to throw the ball a lot. I'm expecting to see some production from both of them. But I'm stuck with tight end. I have to go with Clive Walford. He hasn't been doing much with the Raiders. That's all I can get from free agency because I didn't get anything in the waiver wire. So besides my record, it's just a bunch of tough matchups up and down the board, man. So I'm going against myself.
It's weird you decided to review your own team. All right, well, Solo Election Boss, that's who I'm picking as well. Derek Carr looks to bounce back from his poor performance against Kansas City to go back to his double-digit ways against Jacksonville at Jacksonville on a Sunday. There's a lot to be said about, traveling from, West Coast to East Coast. And it's like end-to-end going from California to Florida to play at Jacksonville. Sunday is the 1 o'clock game. Hopefully fatigue doesn't catch up to these guys. But whatever, I'm betting on Derek Carr. Melvin Gordon going up a pretty vanilla defense in Atlanta. I expect him to get back in the end zone. Tevin Coleman still splitting carries with, I forget his name. Whatever. He's still splitting carries.
Freeman.
He is going against Devontae Freeman, yes. So he's still splitting carries with Devontae Freeman going up against the Chargers. The Chargers' defense is pretty weak, 30th overall against the run. Victor Cruz is in your starting lineup. I don't expect him to stay there. You have Mike Evans on the bench. Mike Evans has a great matchup against San Francisco's wet newspaper defense, as Paki calls it. You have Luke Kuechly on bye, but that's okay. Von Miller, Eric Hendricks, and Jarrell Freeman, all viable fantasy options. Terrence West against the New York Jets. That's something you can take advantage of. And your so-called baby Gronk going against New Orleans. Another very favorable matchup. All right. Definitely. This week I'm picking So Loyal Accent Boss.
Come on, man. You're just picking everything I pick, man. Come on.
I'm picking all the away teams so far.
Oh. All right, man.
Dude, you know what? I'm the same way that I'm hoping to never have to pick the Brawlers, I'm also never going to pick against Action Boss anymore. Blood is thicker than water. I'm going with Action Boss every single time. Shout out to Cousin Juan. If you're not listening, listen to the Report Card podcast. Find it on Google. Any darn way. The next matchup is
get up to
Rainy Oriental Steelers. The Rainy Oriental Steelers at 3-3 versus Jovebo Fortimal, also at 3-3. The Rainy Oriental Steelers. What can we expect there?
All right, man. The clock's ticking. I'm going to be real quick on these. We got 2 left, so I'm sorry for the ones that are left. I'll be real quick. Straight off the bat, I got Rainy Oriental Steelers winning, which I assume he hasn't changed his team name because he's been at a very important conference in Chicago he's a recycler and whatever, so he's probably been pretty busy. He's always a troll, so I'm assuming
a bunch of old people teaching you how to manage money. Dude, make more money than you spend, and you're rich. End of story. Pay me for that damn conference.
I'm pretty sure that when he does do something, I don't want to give him any ideas, but it's going to be something against Joel Reyes' restaurant. Something around there. But, yeah, because he's a troll. But based on this, I mean, Andy Dalton versus Cleveland, we've already seen Cleveland just finds ways to mess up on defense. And Lamar Miller versus Denver. Denver's a great defense, but they're not very good against the running backs. And that's shown to be kind of a weakness for them. So Lamar Miller should put up double-digit points. Devontae Freeman against San Diego should put up...
You have a very keen eye, sir. Denver is 21st against the run.
Yeah, I'm talking about fantasy, bro.
So am I.
Yeah, if you look at the points they've given up in fantasy, the only team that they didn't give up a lot of points against was Tampa Bay, which was when they lost Doug Martin, and Carolina, which was week 1, which we've known the Panthers don't have any idea how to play the Panthers, how to play the Broncos. But every other week they've given double-digit fantasy points to running backs. I'm not saying that they're going to burn that defense, but they will get the ball to Lamar Miller some way, somehow. I like Devontae Freeman. I like Golden Tate versus Washington is also a good matchup. Assuming Golden Tate continues this trend that we've all been expecting, that he was disappeared completely from fantasy season. So, on top of that, man, you don't have much else on your bench. You can start over what you have starting. So, that's what you have. I'm not gonna go every single start on your team. I expect your kicker, even your kicker, is gonna give you double digits versus New Orleans. So, kudos to you on that one, man. I got the Rainy Oriental Steelers.
I believe that both of these teams are trending downward. Even though Rainy Oriental Steelers got the win last week, they're not looking great. I will say, though, that Andy Dalton is an underrated quarterback, both real life and fantasy. Aaron Rodgers playing against Chicago. There was a question this week of whether or not to start Aaron Rodgers. I say yes. Start him at home. There's no way he's going to have 2 bad home games. Even on a short week, you're playing at home, you're playing against a weak defense, you start Aaron Rodgers over Kirk Cousins. Matt Forte, I don't know what you're going to do with him. He's listed as questionable. He doesn't look great. He looks pretty slow. The defense in Baltimore is nothing to write home about, but I really don't know what to do about this guy right here. It looks like Duke Johnson and Isaiah Crowell are both getting equal playing time. Maybe one gets more carries than the other, but they're getting the same amount of playing time. I'm almost tempted to trade you Forte for Crowell just because I'm a fan of Forte. I'll trade you Forte for Duke Johnson just so you have both of them. A.J. Green playing against Cleveland. There's a lot of interdivisional, interstate here matchups. A.J. Green, he can't be bad all the time. He always gets you double digits. Expect him to have a double-digit game against Cleveland. Kenny Britt against the Giants. His last game was a fluke. Do not expect that to happen again against the Giants. Julius Thomas didn't look great last week, but he's playing against Oakland. Oakland currently 26 against the tight ends. Everything else is kind of a toss-up. Man, like I said, the overwhelming fact here is that it's all luck. So, moving on.
So, who do you pick?
Pick me. The Rainy Oriental Steelers is going to win this.
All right, so we got the same on that one, too. By the way, Kenny Britt had a pretty awesome one-handed catch, man, last week. So, who knows? Maybe he is back. Now, moving on to the next one, we got Amari 2600, the 5-1 matchups versus Mojo Juju. Whoever wins this one should be alone in first place. Amari 2600 has been playing the running back roulette all year. It's been very hard for him, and now he has Jonathan Stewart on a bye and Fozzie Whitaker on a bye. That leaves him at a bind of starting Kenneth Dixon against the Jets, who hasn't done anything for him, or D'Angelo Williams, who is questionable, by the way, against New England, who has been a great defense. So it's very tough to play the running back roulette, especially when you're playing a good team like Mojo Juju. Carson Palmer is playing Seattle, and Carson Palmer has been bad on his own, much less against Seattle. I do like the highlight of this team is the receivers, Amari and Allen Robinson, and they're both with very good matchups. One versus Jacksonville, the other one versus Oakland. They're playing each other. So that's going to be probably the main focus of your fantasy points this week. Besides that, on your flex, you got Terrell Pryor. There's no way you're benching him for any of the people you have on your bench, which I already mentioned most of them. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to start Joe Flacco over Carson Palmer, man. Consider it. I know Flacco hasn't done much, but that's all you have. And the Jets' secondary hasn't looked very good. So maybe Joe Flacco can put up better points than Carson Palmer. I don't expect any of them to reach 20, but Flacco might give you better points. Anyhow, given your problem with the running backs, I'm going with Mojo Juju on this one.
Jets defense, by the way, secondary's trash. It's 28 overall against quarterbacks. So I second you starting Joe Flacco. And Carson Palmer just looked terrible anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Pitt, I don't know why he's on your bench. He's a pretty good option to play too. I would start him over Barnage. All right, that's neither here nor there. So Mojo Juju is doing that thing where he keeps all of his starters on the bench. He's trolling us again. This team, I mean, why you say that the bulk of the points for Amari 2600 is in the receiver spots, Mojo Juju is just a stacked team. I mean, maybe you could say that the quarterback isn't the strongest position, but you're getting back Jameis Winston, and now Dak Prescott is going out on bye, but he's strong at every position. Your flex, you're probably going to start Jordan Howard, and it is what it is. I'm not going to talk too much about your team, you jerk, because you keep doing this crap where you leave everybody on your bench. I'm going to start doing that with everyone who leaves their players on their bench. I talked too much about Gary already. So that is that. I'm picking Mojo Juju to win this one. It looks like I picked all of the away teams. This is the only one where I'm going with the home team.
A good question for Mojo Juju is, who is he going to start from Jameis Winston playing San Francisco and Marcus Mariota playing Indianapolis? They're both excellent matchups. And I really like what Mariota has done the last couple of weeks. It's very tough. Me personally, not based on him, because I know he's going to do whatever he feels like. But if there's anybody there with the same conundrum, I would go with Marcus Mariota, man, because he's hot right now. And he's not turning the ball over as much as he normally does. And Winston is. So Mariota versus Indy, that's the matchup that I'm interested in. And by the way, he picked him up on waivers. I would start him right away, man.
I like what you did there. See, you said for anyone who's listening, if they have a similar situation, a conundrum, to use the word you used, you should start Mariota. So you give advice not only to the people that are in this league, but anyone else who follows fantasy football. So we actually had a question that was sent to our email, the unofficial commentators at gmail.com. And it was, if I'm not part of this league, then why am I really listening to this? Well, we talk about all of the NFL players, and NFL players are going to be NFL players no matter what team they're on. They just so happen to be organized this way for this league. So if you're a fan of football, if you're playing in a fantasy league, and you hear some of these names that we're talking about, and we talk about their matchup and why they're favorable, and you're interested in our opinion, then listen to the Unofficial Commentators podcast. Also, this isn't the ceiling for the Unofficial Commentators. I mean, basketball season's coming up. We also have analysis on fantasy basketball and just, general topics that we want to discuss. So there's always going to be something for you to follow if you listen to the Unofficial Commentators podcast. But like I said, overall, we talk about all these NFL teams, all these real NFL players. Mm-hmm. If you follow any of the teams and any of the players, then by all means, you're going to learn something. And if you're not a fan of football in general, this may be the way that you segue into football. So start listening to some of this advice, start learning on the players. Next year, join a fantasy football league and start playing and follow up on the advice of the Unofficial Commentators, 9-8 and Paki.
Yeah, we're 5 minutes past due our regular recording time, so it's good to add that Max, who sent us the email, actually said we're doing a pretty good job. I really appreciate the compliment, bro. We're doing the best we can to give everybody good material, and we're going to keep bringing good material regarding this league or any other league or anything whatsoever. So we will be adding a link also to the description with the fantasy league so you guys can follow it publicly and see what's going on and see it like a start-sit column in any other podcast or show that you listen to, because this is a 14-team, very competitive league, and there's a lot of tough situations on start sits that we actually touch without even noticing that could be helpful for everybody. And we analyze every player, like Jay said. So just to sum it up for today, I got to add, remember, guys, to visit food.inc.rd on Instagram. My boy Chef Table. Awesome food, awesome restaurant, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Look it up. If you're not here, you can, whenever you come travel, you got to visit it. So that pretty much sums it up, guys. Remember, favorite the podcast, follow the YouTube channel, comment, or send an email. Jay, do you have anything else to add to the guys?
My daughter loves watching YouTube, so shout out to baby Angel. Wherever you are right now, you should be in bed. I hope you're sleeping peacefully. And when you see Daddy on your tablet, flip out. I'm on YouTube.
All right, so we're 5 minutes past due, guys. Thank you for hanging in with us for today. That pretty much sums it up. So tomorrow, Thursday Night Football, we already went over it. Green Bay versus, man, I just got a brain fart. Hold on, I got it.
Chicago.
Versus Chicago.
The Bears.
And as always, good luck in Week 7.